What's up, everybody? Something different here today. My name is Adommie. I'm a good friend of Gawa's, and today he asked me to do a slight review of my cEDH Bruce Thrasios list. Currently missing a few cards from the database list, so I apologize. I am only a university student, so we don't really have dual lands out here or a cradle, but we're working on it. But yeah, besides that, I'd like to give you my version of the famous Don Waker Thrasios list. So here we go. Basically, we have the two famous partners, Bruce Taro, Boris Herder, and Thrasios Triton Hero. Bruce is just a simple 3/3 beater who, when he attacks or enters the battlefield, you can give one creature double strike and lifelink until end of turn. This is useful when you shock in a lot of your lands, or if you have to trade life as a resource at any point in the game. This allows you to cast your commander, giving one of your other creatures double strike or lifelink, or Bruce himself if you need to lifelink that quick 6 life back and continue on. Thrasios, on the other hand, is, well, this card is pretty hated in the community. For 4 colorless, you can scry 1 and then reveal the top card of your library. If it happens to be a land, you can put it in tapped, or you can just get to draw it. So this card, at first glance, it seems okay. 4 mana for a scry and a draw is pretty basic, pretty straightforward. It's mediocre at best. However, if you can achieve infinite mana, which is fairly easy in today's world, you can just draw your deck and it gets outright absurd. So that's basically our game plan here. Our goal is to use Bruce as a sack outlet to get in some of our combo pieces, or to gain life to advance further into our game plan if needed. But the main goal of the deck is to achieve infinite mana and to draw your deck through Thrasios and achieve one of your many possible win conditions. So let's start off with the actual deck. Over here we have my sideboard. As of right now, it's only 3 cards. We have a nice little quick counter spell, a red elemental blast, and a Veil of Summer. These cards are simply used in more, more controlling formats and games and pods per se. So if I find I'm against a deck like a heavy blue deck that is solely about control and counter magic, like a lot like my deck here, I'm going to sub these in. These are very important cards. Like my red elemental blast can blow up an early Mystic. It can blow up a Rhystic Study. It can counter an early mana drain. And Counterspell just counters anything, so why wouldn't you? Veil of Summer can be used in a very interactive, intense pod, because it allows you and permanents you control to gain hexproof from blue and black, or the 2 strongest removal colors in the game, until the end of your turn. So this just helps set up for an extra win con, and at the end of the day, it's just a good card to have on your sideboard, and I'm surprised I actually don't run it in the main 98, sorry, I forget I have partners. Now, on to the main list. These are just tokens that can be generated through a Forbidden Orchard, which is a land that taps for 1 of any color and produces a 1/1 spirit for an opponent. We have lots of treasure-producing creatures and pieces within the deck, so we gotta have treasure tokens. We run Swan Song, so we have to have the 2/2 Flying Bird. And we also run a card called, I'm stumped. Resculpt, sorry. And when you cast Resculpt, you can exile an artifact or a creature, and then your opponent gets a 4/4 blue-red elemental. Kind of cool. So that's my token list. Nothing special, it's just for a few basic cards, but we're just going to jump into the main dive of the deck. Here we have our mana base, and funny enough, if you look, our instant and sorcery stack is actually bigger than our lands. And in fact, it's bigger than our creatures. So that's one thing you will notice about my deck, opposed to most other decks, is my deck has a lot of tutors and interaction for dealing with other people in the game. So let's start with our creatures. We have Draenith Magistrate. Classic commander staple to lock our opponents out from casting their commanders, as well as stopping graveyard combos. Specifically in competitive, Lion's Eye Diamond combos are completely ruined by this card. Many of you may not know what that is. Feel free to go search it up and thank me later. But yeah, classic. One from the new set, we have Fairy Mastermind. You can flash it in if you want. Honestly, I haven't gotten to a point where I've ever played it in that sense. But it's just a quick 2-1 flyer that reads, whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you get to draw a card. So it's just more and more advantage. And for only 2 mana and it's a flyer, you can't go wrong. Classic Ranger Captain. Ranger Captain has an ETB where you search for a creature with CMC 1 or less. Most of the times, if you don't already have Esper Sentinel in play, you're going to go grab a 1 mana drop dork. Like a Birds of Paradise, something along those lines. But other than that, you will almost always grab your Esper Sentinel for more draw. This deck leans heavy into finding an early draw outlet so that you can draw into your combo pieces faster. Ranger Captain also has the amazing ability where you can sack him at any time and your opponents can't cast non-creature spells for the remainder of the turn. This is like a silence type effect to help lock your opponents out for the turn and can edge you and further into a win. We have Kinnan. So, if you can't see off to the side, you're going to understand why Kinnan is in this deck. Kinnan allows all of our non-land permanents to tap for 1 extra mana of whatever color they produce. So in situations here like this Basalt Monolith that taps for 3 colorless, and untaps for 3 colorless, Basalt Monolith would then tap for 4 mana and untap for 3, netting you 1 colorless mana every time. This will result in infinite mana, and as I mentioned earlier, will result in drawing your deck and finding one of your win conditions. Kinnan combos with a lot of pieces in this deck and can be used very frequently, even without a combo piece in play, to just further value and to get you further into your game plan. Zerda allows our Thrasios activations, as well as Basalt Monolith, to cost 2 less, resulting in another infinite mana outlet, or to just simply reduce the cost of our commander's activated ability to draw cards at a faster rate if we need to grind in a longer situation. We run the classic Esper Sentinel, which is whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, unless they pay the power of Esper Sentinel, I get to draw a card. Again, quick draw, very, very useful. Now, we have some of the stronger mana dorks, like we run Noble Hierarch, which is 1 green and can tap for a green, white, and blue, and it also has the Exalted trigger on it. So whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets an additional +1/+1, because why not? We run the classic Landwehr Elves, taps for a green. We run the Bop, because, simple green, taps for any color. Why wouldn't you want to run it? We run a Devoted Druid. Devoted Druid's 2 mana, and you can tap it for a green. You can put a -1 counter on it, and untap it, and then do it again. This card gets insanely out of hand with another combo piece in this deck, which I will show you momentarily. We run Arbor Elf, Elvish Mystic, and Finhorn Elves. 2 more 1 green mana dorks that just tap for green. And an Arbor Elf, which untaps target forest. By untapping a target forest, that will allow us to untap anything such as our stomping grounds, breeding pools, and not just a basic land. It allows us to untap a forest that could also net us a different color. Next, we have a few combo pieces. We have Emil, and we have Dockside. Dockside's a well-known cEDH staple, as well as a red staple in the EDH world, that when it ETBs, you create a number of treasures equal to the number of artifacts and enchantments your opponents control. This comboed with Emil the Blessed can result in near infinite mana pretty fast. As long as your opponents control 4 or more artifacts and or enchantments, you immediately go infinite. Because you crack 3 treasures, flicker Dockside, make another 4, netting you 1 every time, infinite colored mana. When you have infinite colored mana, you can also get combos such as Eternal Witness, where you can infinitely, with your infinite mana, flicker Eternal Witness and return your graveyard to your hand. You can do this at instant speed, even after discarding. So, even if you say this is your hand, you discard down to hand size, you go to 7, whatever. In your opponent's upkeep, you can flicker Eternal Witness to bounce all those cards back to your hand, and then you're good to go. Because why not? We run a Gilded Drake. Very spicy card. Simply because it's a lot harder to interact with where it's a creature, and you can exchange it for something very important. So just say I have a Basalt Monolith and my opponent is playing Kinnan, but I don't have my Kinnan in play. I tap 2 mana. I exchange my Gilded Drake, and next thing you know, boom, now I have a Kinnan, and I can win the game by drawing my deck through Thrasios. This is also very good to counteract a Draenith Magistrate and to steal it for yourself so your opponents can't cast their commanders anymore, and you've just locked them out of the game by giving up a 3/3 flying beater. So it's a very underestimated card. I know it's a lot of money, and you're going to say, wow, he really said Gilded Drake was underestimated? But listen, everyone hates on the price of it. There's a reason it's that price. It's a good card. We run Archivist of Agma. Simple, just whenever someone tutors, you gain a life and draw a card. Quick advantage for 2 mana. This is basically another Dockside, except it's for 3 colorless, and you can pay 2 life or 1 blue mana, and you can have it enter as any creature whatsoever or artifact on the field. This allows us to grab any mana rocks, any creatures that we need to help our game plan. It allows us to grab stacks pieces if we need to slow down our opponents. Overall, insane card. Very useful. Can also be used to copy other people's Docksides. And as you know from Gawa's Sliver video, he runs the Emil combo as well. So if he has his Emil in and I don't, now I have an Emil. Simple as that. If you're lazy and you don't want to combo off with the deck after drawing your deck through Thrasios and one of the infinite mana outlets, good old faithful, Thassa's Oracle. When it enters the battlefield, if your devotion to blue is X or less, where X is the number of cards in your library, you win the game. Draw your deck. 2 is greater than 0. Win the game. Why wouldn't you? And then last but not least, we have Spellseeker, which is just a quick instant or sorcery tutor. So that allows us to tutor for any of our CMC 2 or less in our stack here. Combo pieces, whatever we need. A finale if we really want to. Like, gets insane, especially when you have infinite mana again with our Emil Dockside combo. Because you can just flicker Spellseeker to tutor for any of your CMC 2 or less instants or sorceries directly to your hand. Last but not least, we're going to probably highlight the most valuable creature in today's deck, Seaboard Muse. Untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. This deck ramps really fast and puts a lot of mana onto the field at a significantly faster speed than most other decks. This allows us to Neoform out or sack our brews, as I was saying earlier, to something such as Neoform. We'll get to that later. And that allows us to swing for 6 with our brews, sack brews to Neoform, and then immediately have a Seedborn into play. Once Seedborn comes in, we can untap all of our permanents at the beginning of each other player's untap step. So if we don't have a win condition or a route to our win condition in hand, we can just feed into Thrasios. If we untap 4 lands and then 4 mana rocks, that's a minimum at least 2 Thrasios activations per turn. So that's 6 draws minimum, just as an example, as you go around the board before it gets back to your turn, which is absolutely insane. So Seaborn Muse is a really key, really important grinding piece for this deck. Now, I left Devoted Druid out, to show you one of the combos with Swift Reconfiguration. Swift Reconfiguration is a flash enchantment which turns any creature into a vehicle. When it becomes a vehicle, it has crew 5, which means you have to tap 5 creatures to crew it to be able to attack with it, and loses all other card types. So what that does is with Devoted Druid is at instant speed, which is flash. So you at instant speed, Devoted Druid, sorry, becomes an artifact. And because it's now an artifact but keeps its abilities, you have an artifact that can put infinite number of negative counters on it, resulting in infinite green mana. So you now have an artifact that taps for green, puts a counter on it, which does nothing to it, taps for green, repeat. That allows you to draw your deck through Thrasios. So that's just another combo, which is why I wanted to leave Devoted Druid specifically out to the side, because this is a very specific infinite mana outlet in the deck. Now, let's get to the rest of the artifacts. As you've seen earlier, we run a Basalt Monolith, simply because Kinning combos, fast colorless for Thrasios activations, and through Seedborn, we can untap it on each other player's untap step and just fast mana. We run a Springleaf Drone. This is simply because without Thassa's Oracle, if your Thassa's Oracle gets countered for some reason, you got to find a way, especially with like Devoted Druid, if you only have infinite green mana and you need blue, for example, to win the game or to get to your win con, you can play all your green creatures, cast a Springleaf Drum for colorless, and then tap any one of your summoning sick creatures for the color you need. Enough said. Underrated card for what it does. Wild Growth, just fast ramp. You can just throw it on land, make that additional green. It helps out in this deck. We run a Crypt. Crypt's just insane. 0 drop, of course. Taps for 2 colorless. Even though you flip for the 3 life, that don't mean nothing. Crypt is Crypt. Everyone knows. It's insane. We run a Chrome Mox. Again, 0 costing artifact that taps for 1 of any color, well, of the exiled card's colors. Extremely useful for fast ramp. Fast ramp again, Lotus Petal, 0, cracks for 1 of any color. Why not? Like, why wouldn't you? It's just fast. Get us to where we need to be early, ahead of everybody else, so we can win the game. Training Grounds makes activated abilities of creatures cost 2 less. That allows us to make our Thrasios activations only 2. So in a grindy game, if we need to, we can cast the Training Grounds, and we can start looping our Thrasios that way to draw into something we need to win our game. Again, 0 mana, Mox Amber. Another classic, add 1 mana of any color among any of my legendary creatures. Most of the time, it's going to be Thrasios, and green and blue is very important in this deck, so it's perfect. Like I said, draw is near maximum in this deck. We run a Sylvan Library. You may draw 2 extra cards during your draw phase. If you do, you pay 4 life for each card that you keep. Life as a resource. Pay 8. Draw 2 extra, so you're drawing 3 in your draw steps. Swing your commander. Make 6 of it back. You're already down 2 life and are up an extra 2 cards. Cannot go wrong. We run the classic Soul Ring. I just like the art of the Unlimited, so it had to be done. But yes, classic Soul Ring. Mystic Fish, whenever your opponent plays a non-creature, they got to pay 4 mana. And if they don't, again, what happens? You know, you draw a card. Nothing bad to say about Mystic Remora. Most people should know what this card is, what it does. If you don't own one, you should get one. Simple enough. The next best thing, Heuristic Study. Honestly, better probably. Oh, wow, I gotta clean my cards. We all know what Heuristic does. Whenever an opponent plays any spell, if they don't pay 1 mana, you draw a card. Gets absolutely absurd if it's not dealt with quick, which is why we run in the sideboard the Red Elemental Blast. Can't go wrong with more mana. Yes, I know we have lots of draw and we have lots of way to make mana already, but you can't go wrong with more mana. The more mana you have, the more, even if you have nothing to do with it, activate Thrasios, draw some cards. Cannot go wrong, cannot reiterate that enough. This card doesn't see enough play in this deck. Last but not least, my pride and joy. When I first started playing Magic, this was my dream card. I would do anything to own this card. I'm beyond thankful to own this card. Yes, it is real. Yes, I almost sold a kidney for it, but here we are. You can discard a land when it comes into play for 0, and you can add 1 mana of any color. Reserve list, Mox, artifact, nothing else to say about it. It's not needed in the deck. Realistically, if you want to go build this deck right now, this card will not make or break the deck whatsoever. It is not needed. It's beautiful. Anyway, we're going to put that aside. Because that's a beautiful card. Like, can't believe I own it. Now, to finish off today's video, we have our land base, our mana base, and all of our instants and sorceries. So you're going to see pretty quickly, we run no basics. Tarnished Citadel taps 1 of any color for 3 life or colorless, just useful. Pain land, a fetch. See, Forest Island, Arbor Elf can untap it, and then I can make a blue if I need to. Breeding Pool is shock land. Wooded Foothills is the fetch land. A Forbidden Orchard taps for 1 of any color and creates that spirit token I showed you in the beginning. Mana Confluence, you pay life as a resource, 1 mana of any color. Immersion Zone is a very special land in this deck, because where you can scry in through Thrasios, you can sacrifice it on someone else's turn, giving everything you have flash. This allows us, if we need to cast a Devoted Druid and a Swift Reconfiguration, both on someone else's turn, and draw our deck and Thassa's Oracle out on someone else's turn, or end step, or even their upkeep. Underrated card. Should go in almost every EDH deck. I think it's slept on. Only $1. Pick it up. You could do some crazy plays with it. Even if it doesn't win you the game, you could sack it and just go off. We run Misty Rainforest, another fetch. We run Stomping Ground, another shock. Command Tower, taps for 1 of any color. Gemstone is a classic. Taps for any color. It has the pregame action ability. Pretty OP. You can put it in before the game starts. Discard a card, and it taps 1 of any color. Give you that early advantage. We run another fetch. Another fetch. Another pain land. Boseiju to blow stuff up that slows us down, i.e. stacks pieces or anything. We run another fetch. Exotic taps for 1 of any colors 1 of our opponents produce. Another shock. Another shock. Another shock. 1 of the commander lands. A commander land. Another land that taps for 1 of any color, just by paying a life. Another fetch. Another commander land. And last, another fetch. So as you can see, we run 28 lands in our mana base. However, with our mana base, it got to be so specific. It got to be so strong where we can get the colors we need when we need them. We run almost every fetch we need to. We run most of the shocks. We run all lands that tap for more than 1 color. We need to. Because if not, the deck can't simply reach its goal of turboing out or even grinding in the late game to win us the game. As simple as that. Like, our deck, it's 4 colors. It has so many different colors integrated within it. We need the different color variation as we need it. It's so important. Finally, to end off today's video, sorry it's been a long one, we'll end with our interaction. I wanted to save this for last because it's most important in my opinion. I'm a blue control player. As you can see in the background, that's a Crom. I'm in the process of building Blue Farm, or Timna Crom, one of the most famous cEDH decks in our current database. But at heart, I love playing interaction, and that's why I love the format cEDH. Solely, you get to interact more. It feels like you're playing more. I know it's expensive and it's really hard to get into, but even if you proxy some of the lists with your friends, you'll have way more fun. I swear to God, I got Gawa into playing at a higher level. He bought a crypt. He bought all that stuff. Yes, heavy investment. He's never had more fun playing the game. And I'll leave it at that. Finale. Search his library or graveyard for any creature, CMC X or less. If X is 10 or more, all your creatures gain +X and gain haste. Infinite mana. Cast your creatures. Give them all infinite with haste. Nothing more to be said. We got a Brainstorm. This card is clutch. Won me some games. If you have no response in hand, but you got that 1 blue ready, boom. Draw 3 cards, put 2 back on top. You might find an answer. You might find a way to win the game on the spot. Never know. Classic. Tutors for anything we need, like our Basalt Monolith or any of our other combo pieces. Swift reconfiguration. Whatever. You know, classic and latent tutor. The only battle in the deck, Invasion of Ikoria. Tutors for a creature X or less, similar to Finale, except it's a battle. So you get to pick an opponent to defend it. It has 6 life. However, when it's destroyed, it becomes Zilortha, which is for each non-human creature you control, you can just assign their damage as though they weren't blocked. As if it wasn't already broken enough on the tutor side. That basically allows us to drop all of our creatures in play, buff them up with a Finale, and then they don't even need to swing. You just go, okay, you're dead, and you're dead. Why wouldn't you? Resculpt, here it is. Forgot it earlier. Creates our 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token. Exile target artifact or creature for 2 mana, instant. Awesome. Mindbreak Trap. If your opponent casts 3 or more spells this turn, you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost. Pretty good. Exile any number of spells on the stack. This allows us, if there's a lot going on, for example, like a Flusterstorm comes in with 7 copies, instead of paying 7 mana, see ya. All of them are gone. Mindbreak Trap doesn't see much play outside of cEDH. However, it's an excellent counterspell, and if you can afford one, I would definitely recommend picking it up. Dispel, simple blue, counter target instant spell. Fierce Guardianship is one of our commander counter magic. It's if you control a commander, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. Counter target non-creature spell. Card shouldn't exist. It's absolutely insane, especially when you find ways where you can cast it, flicker it with a meal, and Eternal Witness back to hand. You basically have an infinite counterspell. Wargate allows us to grab any of our permanents. This includes Swift Reconfiguration, Basalt, any creature, whatever we need to win the game. And even if X is 0, we can grab a land. Fun fact. A little secret little sorcery that gets us a combo piece into play. Classic Silence. Your opponents can't cast spells this turn. Locks them out of the turn. Allows you to just go off on your turn. No one can do anything in response. Allowing you to win the game. Neoform. As I said earlier, Neoform allows you to sacrifice a creature and then search your library for a creature with CMC 1 more than what you sacrificed. So for example, with Bruise, which is 4, we can cast Neoform for a 5, giving us our Seedborn Muse. Or we can even sacrifice one of our 1-cost mana dorks, like our Birds of Paradise or our Finhorn Elves, into a Dockside. And from there, we can combo off. You never know. There's so many possibilities with cards like this. Slept on cards need to be seen more in play. That's all I have to say. Quick creature removal. Exile a creature. Its controller gains life equals to its power. For 1 mana, can't go wrong. Instant. It could make or break a turn. It could save you in combat. It could take out someone's important creature combo. You don't know. Need it. Offer is just a simple instant for a blue. Counters target non-creature spell, similar to Fierce Guardianship, except for 1 blue. And your opponent creates 2 treasures. Honestly, I'm thinking of subbing this out with the Veil of Summer, but I don't know. Let me know your opinion in the comments. Creature Tutor. Get us closer to our combo pieces to win the game. Cyclonic Rift, a classic. We make infinite mana, for example. Like I said, we play our Springleaf Drum. We make our 1 blue. Boom, we overload a Rift. And just like that, we are miles ahead of the competition. The card is insane. Instant. Shouldn't exist. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If you overload it, you remove target to each. So it just fucks everybody. Sorry for my language. But card shouldn't exist. Adommie's Call is another creature to hand tutor. Can grab us whatever combo piece we don't have or any creature we need. For, oh no, they have a Draenith in play. We're going to go grab our Gilded Drake and we're going to go take it. Oh, we need mana? We're going to go grab our Dockside. We have Dockside in hand. We need a meal. Let's go grab a meal. Like, the possibilities are limitless with these creature tutors, and I highly recommend, if you can put them in your deck, to put them in your deck, because at instant speed, for such little amounts of mana, it can break the game. So I fucked up. Oops. Pardon my French again. And we put a land in here. Just another pain land. Spell Snare. 1 blue, instant, counter target spell, convert a mana cost 2. This shuts down people's Adommie's calls. Their Cyclonic Rift. Shuts down their Neoform. It shuts down Resculpt. Like, it shuts down Invasion of Ikoria. It shuts down people's Finale. It's insane. It's just an amazing card. It shuts down people's Docksides. For 25 cents, this card can do so much, and you have no idea. Quick instant or sorcery tutor to the top of deck. Never hurt nobody. SWAT is the red commander counter spell, where you may cast it without paying its mana cost, and you may choose new targets for the spell or ability. Absolutely broken. Force of Will, exile a blue card, and counter any spell. Insane. Flusterstorm has Storm, counter target spell, instant or sorcery, unless its controller pays 1 mana. Definitely recommended. So if there's 8 counter spells on the stack before you, or anything, Flusterstorm. Oh, your opponent played 5 spells this turn and played an important one to win the game. You now have 6 Flusterstorms on the stack for 1 blue mana. Insane counter spell, which is why it's so expensive. Force of Negation, which is the poor man's Force of Will. Crop Rotation, the crop rotate out into a cradle if I eventually buy one. Or into the Emergent Zone. On someone else's turn, you tap a green, you rotate out, crack your Emergent Zone, boom, you're off to the races. Swan Song, quick enchantment, instant, or sorcery counter for 1 blue, makes a 2/2 bird. Noxious Revival for 2 life puts any card back on top of our library. If we have infinite mana, this allows us to loop things as well, and we can just draw it back through Thrasios. We have a Chain of Vapor, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Then that permanent's controller may sacrifice a land and continue the chain. So they make another copy of it and continue. This is good to bounce back our own Docksides to hand or opponent's important combo pieces. March of Swirling Mist, if someone swings at you with some big stuff and you have no blockers, phase it out. Why not? Good luck hitting you if they don't exist. Muddle allows us to discard it for any of our combo pieces or use it as a counterspell if need be. It's mostly used to discard for a Dockside or Kinnan, or Devoted Druid, any piece you need that can win you the game. Eldritch is another creature tutor where you sack a creature and you search for 1 X or less, where X is 2 plus the sacrifice creature's converted mana cost. Can basically grab you whatever you need. Court of Calling is an instant speed finale that doesn't give the buff. And it has Convoke, so your creatures can tap to help pay for the X cost. And, green, green, green. You have 4 creatures in play. Boom, you're a meal. Oh, you have 2 creatures in play. You have your Dockside. Simple as that. Noxious Revival, put it on top. Use your Dockside treasures to draw it back. Recast it for your Emil. Win the game. You get what I'm saying? This deck has infinite potential. Delay, which is just another counter spell. It counters anything, but it just delays it with 3 time counters on it. A Mana Drain, simply for that extra colorless. We could pump into Thrasios, or if we needed to cast anything, like one of our tutors, like Finale. It counters any spell and then adds colorless equal to the CMC of the countered card in the main phase. Your next main. It's pretty basic, but pretty OP. Simple Lightning Bolt. I've run this simply because I can cast Emil Dockside, make my infinite mana. Eternal Witness. You get where this is going. I'll ping you for 3. I'll flicker my Eternal Witness, return this to hand. I'll ping you for 3, and I'll repeat. Stuff like that. Last but not least, to finish off this deck, we have Mental Misstep. You can pay 2 life to cast it, or 1 blue to counter any target spell with CMC 1. This allows us, turn 1, even if we're not first in turn order, someone plays a Soul Ring, 2 life, boom, they don't have a Soul Ring. Ruins their day, ruins their game, and it wins us the game most of the time. Now, last but not least, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Comedian MTG. He is the original creator of this list. I have slightly modified it and budgeted the lands down because, well, I ain't got that kind of money. But here we are. I really appreciate you coming and hearing me out for today's video. I'd like to shout out Gawa for letting me come onto the channel and do a in-depth deck tech. I'm sorry it was 35 minutes long. But I really hope you guys enjoyed and can get a clear view on what makes cEDH and why some decks are a lot stronger than others at the tables. Thank you again for coming along. This was Adommie. Have a good rest of your day.